and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace, and kindly calling into our virtual studio today to speak on the theme Leading the Business Through Change from Technology is Kelly Switt, Strategic Partnerships and Ecosystem Development Global Head at RedHat. So Kelly, thank you very much for calling in. It's good to have you on.
It is great to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. It's good to have you on. So yes, today we're discussing how banks can remain relevant in 2022, which I'm sure those tuning in will be eager to hear about. So building on your experience and expanding on what you're doing already today, could you highlight ways of being more effective in 2022? Let's start there.
Yeah, so when you look at what's really happening in this industry, so financial services, banking, we'll focus on banking specifically, there really is becoming a much stronger role of technology, where technology is really starting to define the business models that the banks are really taking to market for their customers. And whether you look at IDC that talks about a 75% increase in fintech to bank collaboration, or any one of the partners that we work with on a daily basis that really is starting to build unique ecosystems within each one of the banks as they go to deploy new features, you can see a big change really coming. And so what the banks really need to start thinking about is not just the talent that they have within their organization, but what is the talent available within the marketplace through unique partnerships that can drive that time to revenue much faster and speed of change for their customer to deliver new value-added services.
So some big changes on the horizon then. That's interesting and exciting. So what impact do you think will growing consumer and client expectations have on the way banks operate moving forward then?
Well, I think that while the banks have always tried to be very customer centric, I think that this new movement, especially in the world of kind of digitizing the banks because of COVID, really is accelerating that change and thinking about how to really create that level of connection or humanize the digital experience. And the digital experience is really what's driving their market share. And so in many ways, you could say it's Amazon, it's almost like an Amazonification of just about every industry that exists. So what we see the banks really focusing on is how to create much more seamless, connected, digitized, humanized experiences. And I think that's a big trend we're going to continue to see. And they're going to leverage a number of these fintechs to really help them through that journey.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Kelly. And now to the million-dollar question, I think. How can banks continue to stay relevant as customer preferences evolve then? What about that?
Well, I think that, what started in Europe as the phenomenon known as open banking, I really think is morphing into what I would consider or call embedded finance. I think that's a pretty big term that everyone uses. And what that really means is every day, as we interact in our daily lives, we already are unaware sometimes of the role that the bank plays in our daily lives. And I think that what you're going to start to see is as the banks really start to redefine their technology, using it to drive their business in a much more platform-centric way, you're going to start to find that these new partnerships that they may bud across different industries is going to create this drive and digital revenue stream for the banking sector that is going to really create that well-rounded digital experience that customers are expecting. And so you see some of that happening even in the phenomenon around buy now, pay later. Those types of concepts right in your digital shopping cart never existed before, but that's a way of thinking about how this embedded finance strategy is really going to start changing the market, and how the banks, especially the ones that have been around, trying to make sure they combat the new challenger banks, have to start thinking about their business model is really, how do I take my bank outside of the brick and mortar and into something that becomes far more ubiquitous in daily life.
So watch this space, and very good advice weaved in there as well, Kelly. But look, thank you so much for your time today. You got us really excited about what's ahead, but we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you for having me.